Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of Freedom Friday here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot, and we are joined by our friend, the Soulless Ginger, the homesteading with. What is your channel again?
Something like that, yeah. I don't know.
Big Red Homestead? I don't know. Whatever we're going to call it these days. Corey from Texas.
The Texas titty twister tank tickler. There you go.
Obviously, this is a special Monday edition because we were going to do this on Friday, but unfortunately, sleep took over several times. Not even going to lie. And then other stuff happened too. But I'm glad I waited, though, because there's some other stuff that's come out since then that we can talk about in this episode, including scumbag New Mexico governor Michelle Lippin Grisham and her tyranny, and how people have now fought back against that several times with rallies yesterday and a bunch of other stuff. We got an update about the Kroger parking lot shooting that proves that Takia young girl actually was stealing a fuck ton of alcohol in the state of Ohio. Sure. And it was probably, given the fact that looking at the bottle she was stealing, was probably enough to qualify for grand theft here in Ohio, which is only $500. So, yeah. She wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. And, of course, there's other stuff that's coming out about her, with her grandmother being the one that has custody of her other two children before this even, and had a restraining order against that girl and stuff. So we'll talk about all that here in a few minutes. But I do want to start out talking about this particular story, which I thought was kind of funny, given the fact that we, people want to sit there and talk about how great electric vehicles are in our country. On an EV road trip to promote green tech, U.S. Energy Secretary and her entourage couldn't find enough electric vehicle chargers.
You know what would have made this story even better and even more funny? Is if she had a generator, a thing in her car, a gas-powered generator, so she could plug the charger into the porthole.
I can see them doing that too.
Her Tesla would be powered by Honda. I've seen that a couple times before, where people literally had gas generators in their trunk in case they couldn't get to a charging port. They could do it on the side of the road. And I'm thinking, what is the fucking point, you dumbass?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what says here, it says, U.S. Secretary of Energy and her team embarked on a road trip to promote electric vehicles. They ran into a predictable yet frustrating obstacle, a lack of electric vehicle charging stations. Indeed, there are only about 3 EV charging ports for every 10,000 people in the United States currently, and it should be less than that even. Yeah. It says the scarcity of chargers was such an issue for Energy Secretary Jennifer Golem and her team that the police got involved at one point. Caravan of electric vehicles headed from Charlotte, North Carolina to Memphis, Tennessee over the course of 4 days hit a snag in Grovestown, Georgia. Group was planning a quick charge when they realized there wouldn't be enough electric vehicle chargers to go around, since one was broken and the others were in use.
That's hilarious.
Oh, Jesus.
And they want everybody in America to own an electric vehicle right now. Exactly. It's retarded. The fucking grid could not sustain everybody in America owning a Tesla or any sort of electric vehicle.
As it says here, an employee of the Department of Energy tried to save one of the spots using a gas-powered car. It was a sweltering day, and the move didn't go over well with a family that was also waiting to charge their vehicle. Said situation escalated to the point that the family driving with a baby in their car called the cops, who didn't have the authority to act. Blocking the EV charging port with a gas-powered car isn't illegal in Georgia. That seems like
not to mention that's private property anyway, so cops don't have jurisdiction on private property.
Yeah, either way, it's funny and sad at the same time.
It is. It really is. But I don't trust electric vehicles. I haven't since they first came out. And now that they're technically more advanced and everything, I still do not trust electric vehicles.
I don't trust them from the fact they're ticking time bombs. Specifically, about a year or so ago, during one of the previous hurricanes down in Florida, there was a electric vehicle down there that caught fire because it got hit with the hurricane storm and stuff, and it was underwater to the point where you had the battery itself all catch fire and stuff like that.
Jesus.
And you had firefighters go out there and try to douse it with water, and you had one firefighter tell local reporters and stuff like that, he said, we're going to have to keep a hose on this car right now for at least the next 4 or 5 days because it's going to be a continuous fire that will not go out.
That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, and it was going to take, like, I think they said it was like 2.5 million gallons of water to extinguish it or something crazy like that. I think it was insane.
Damn. They don't have some kind of foam or because you know how there's different things to put out different types of fires?
Yeah.
Like you never want to throw water on a grease fire.
Yeah, you do like baking soda and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing they could have done instead of wasting so much fucking water.
I have no idea. But then the thing is, like, when we've talked with Honda about this in the past, I don't know if it was on stream or off stream, but he was even saying how there in Colorado, the electric scooters that are around there, they'll get wet. You'll have people throw them into a storage container, whatever it is, and they'll have storage containers catch fire with like 30 of them in there.
Yep.
And I know that's happening here in Ohio too, because they're starting to put them around Canton and stuff like that. And I see them all the time getting abused and beat up by kids, and then eventually like just smashed and everything else like that. And eventually some of them have caught fire. So it's crazy.
And I'm sorry, anyone that would trust their vehicle to drive for them and then fall asleep or just take their eyes off the road in general, to me, there's something wrong with them, because I don't know how you can have that much faith in electronics like that, because it's to me, it's not advanced enough for that. And it's been proven, because like you and I were talking about before the chat started, I saw a video, and I've actually seen it a couple times because it's floating around, where this Tesla did not recognize two patrol cars pulled over on the side of the road that stopped somebody and slammed into the back of the patrol cars. And I'm sorry that, no. If I'm not in control of the vehicle, I'm not trusting it.
Yeah. I actually saw one earlier today that really pissed me off, being the fact that it is the 22nd anniversary of 9/11. And it was some individuals, I don't know if they were teenagers, 20-somethings, what they were, basically saying that we deserve what happened on 9/11, and it was chickens coming home to roost.
Wow. Fuck them.
Which brought me to a point of a few years ago when I was talking to my old neighbor girl. She, I say girl, but she's about the same age as I am, a little bit older even maybe. But yeah, she was telling me how, because she was teaching high school Spanish courses, I believe is what it was back then, and this was like 3 or 4 years ago now. And you had one of her freshman classes that day. They were doing the time that the planes that hit the towers or whatever for the class for like moment of silence and stuff like that. And you started having a bunch of these kids that were like 15, 16 years old just start snickering and laughing about it. And it's like, talk about unbelievably disrespectful to just the amount of people that died that day and the ones that have died since and everything else like that. But yeah, we give these kids voting rights by default at 18 years old.
Yeah, so it's such bullshit and disrespectful for them to open their mouths about it, especially if they weren't alive during it.
And that's
or babies
thing too.
during
like,
it.
There was, I want to say this is about maybe 10 years ago at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You actually had, because there's the raw video footage here on YouTube someplace of the 9/11 attacks and when the planes were hitting the towers and everything else like that.
I actually just sent you a video I saw moments ago before jumping on the chat, to where it says this is a different view that's never been seen before, or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Of 9/11.
It was you had people who were either toddlers or something else back then, or maybe weren't even alive back then, whose parents had told them straight up, be like, yeah, you know, you weren't here for 9/11, or you were a little baby during 9/11, or whatever the case be, you should go check out the footage or whatever, because they believed it wasn't real. They believed it didn't happen. because it was before their time, or they were just small children and didn't know any better is what it was.
Yeah,
and that's why you had that like uptick in viewership for like millions of people to see that for the first time then and just be like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's the same type of people that didn't believe the concentration camps and shit happened, the Holocaust. The Holocaust deniers, because they weren't alive to witness it, so therefore it didn't happen.
Well, and I feel like that in of itself, there are levels of Holocaust denial is what it is for people, because there are a lot that I've heard from personally, just say random shit or whatever, where it's not that they don't believe it didn't happen, they just don't believe the actual numbers that are given out, because there's obviously, you know, one's got 6 million over here, another's got 8 million over here, and then there's like different records and different numbers and stuff like that. And it's like people are just like sort of questioning the number of how many people actually died there is what it is, not that people didn't die. And I can understand it from that perspective, because it's like, yeah, what is the actual number then? Is it 6 million, 8 million, 10 million, 12 million? Like, what is it? Or is it there's so many mass graves you can't actually do an estimated direct body count is what it is then because of that? And I think that's a lot of what it is actually in many cases.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the worst thing is, again, the more we get, you know, what was that, 1930s, 1940s? So that's almost 100 years ago now. The further we get away from that, the less these people are alive anymore to even have the ability to come out and say anything and be like, hey, look at this, you know, number that's written across my arm, because that was the number that they literally tattooed on me in these death camps. So
yeah, it's just like I was gonna say a while ago when you brought up 9/11. I can't believe it's been 22 years, because in a lot of ways it feels like it just happened yesterday or last year. You know what I mean? Just like when you said that the Holocaust, it's been almost 100 years. It's like, Jesus Christ, that just fucking, because it feels like it wasn't that long ago.
well,
Even though I wasn't alive for it, you know, when I was born and growing up, there were still a shit ton of fucking Holocaust survivors. Because I remember growing up, seeing interviews of Holocaust survivors. There was even one that came to my school at one point and gave it, you know, a speech, and it just doesn't almost compute. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a great video out there too from several years back now, and it was this old woman who was one of the Holocaust survivors, and she was discussing gun rights, and the whole thing was never trust the government. If they're going to tell you they want to take your gun rights away, buy more guns.
Mm-hmm. Damn, 500. I didn't realize you were that young, brother.
Yeah.
He said he was 5 during 9/11.
I was watching a local news station today.
Junior, senior, and actually, no, I was a senior in high school when that happened. I think, like, I don't know, it's been too damn long. I have to think, but
anyway, yeah, I was watching local news today, and there was the one reporter guy that they had there who was saying something about how he was like in preschool or whatever when it happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man.
Makes you feel old.
Technically, we would be the same age, and if I hadn't been held back a couple times, we would have been in the same grade at that point, I believe, too. So I would have technically been a junior in high school when that happened, had I not been held back twice. So he probably would have been a junior too then. But as it was, I was a freshman in, of all places, ironically enough, a history class. When somebody came knocking on our door and was like, hey, turn on the TV, something's going on in New York. And literally as soon as the history teacher turned on the TV was as the second plane was smacking into the tower and making the blast happen.
Yep, I was in the library, and the librarian threw on the TV, and there was probably maybe 10, 15 of us in the library that just sat there and watched it. And, you know, it was probably a good, I don't know, 5-10 minutes before the second plane hit, because I know we were already watching TV when the plane hit the towers. And
yeah,
It was fucking nuts, dude. I couldn't believe it was real. I thought I was watching like a movie or something, you know? It just didn't seem real. And then it was, I don't remember how long after the second tower hit, because it was so long ago. I don't remember second by second. But I want to say it was probably 30 minutes to an hour or so after that, the school shut down and let all the kids go home. And so I remember coming home and waking my dad up because he fell asleep on the couch watching something or whatever. And I was like, Dad, obviously you didn't hear, but we're fucking under attack. And I threw on the TV and we sat there for fucking hours. Actually, pretty much all night, just watching the same shit over and over, hoping that, you know, to hear something new or some kind of new update to figure out what's going on. Even the next day, we were not necessarily glued to the TV, but we kept checking periodically and just watching shit and seeing if there was any updates.
I remember, I think it was roughly about a half hour to 45 minutes after it is when because we were still in class, because it was something where we had been in that class, because we had just started the class, because it was like, I want to say like 40 minutes per class, whatever we had at that school. And we were maybe like 10 minutes into that class when the attack happened, and we had been told to turn TV on, there's what it was, and then saw the second tower get hit. And it was within maybe like 15 or 20 minutes of that is when the principal came over to the PA and was like, basically saying, we're in a school lockdown right now, like just stay in your classrooms for the foreseeable future until we're going to tell you like what's up, basically. And then it was a little bit after that is when they were scrambling and then figured out like, okay, we're going to send these kids home, like get the buses ready and stuff like that. And then I want to say my sister had been sick or something to where she was already at the house then, because she, I think, would have been, or wait, had she graduated already at that point? I'm trying to think now. I can't remember offhand. I think maybe she had graduated the previous year. So she was just chilling out of the house here, is what it was with my mom. And yeah, I'd walked in the door and the two of them had the TV on and were just like awestruck at that point. And then my brother had come in like a little bit later and was like, you guys hear what's going on? And we're like, yeah. And we were all watching TV at the time then together, and it was fucking crazy.
Yeah, because you didn't know what was going to happen. You know, I, you know, legit thought we were under attack and, you know, some Red Dawn shit was fixing to happen where paratroopers are falling from the sky and we're being invaded or something. I don't know, dude. It was a wild time to be alive. And
there is a music video for a Five Finger Death Punch song called Gone Away. I don't know if you've ever seen that video or not.
No, I think I know the song, but I don't usually typically watch.
So there's a video, and it's basically because a lot of the videos that those guys do uses either real soldiers or guys about military use and stuff like that's what it is, and like military service and stuff and whatnot. That particular video, there is a scene in it where it's like these buddies and their wives and stuff all hanging out watching like a ball game, whatever it is, and then the thing comes over the TV about like 9/11 happens and stuff like that. And the guys like sitting there and just like, you know, what you call it, and like pointing like, and this is why we need to go kick Bin Laden's ass kind of thing or whatever. And like, I shit you not, at the age of 16, that's exactly how I felt.
Oh yeah,
a long time.
A lot of fucking young men felt like that.
And there were older kids in my school that day who were 17, 18, who were straight up saying like, I'm going to go join the service. And some of them did. And unfortunately, they didn't make it back. They died overseas with IED explosions and everything else like that.
Yeah. I wanted to enlist so bad. And I tried a couple times, but each time that I did, I was overweight because when I got out of high school, I was around 450 at least.
Yeah.
Give or take a few pounds. But I was a big bitch.
Yep.
And of course, they're not going to take someone that big. So I, you know, worked on myself, trying to lose weight and everything. And I tried again. I was still slightly too big. So I ended up moving down south, and I lost a shit ton of weight. Came back up here because I worked with a family friend as a mechanic. And I got into the oil field and dropped down to 210. Well, I could have joined then, but by then I was a little older, and I had bills and shit to pay, rent and everything. You know how the spiel goes. And when I was in the oil field, I met my first wife, and we had a kid, and I just never thought about re-enlisting again. Plus, I have medical issues to where I wouldn't have been able to really go in anyways. I was told by the recruiters if I could pass MEPS, they would take me. But I've needed a total hip replacement since I was 18 years old because I broke it playing football in junior high, and didn't realize I broke it. So, that right there would have kept me out. Plus, I'm flat-footed.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I do wish I could have joined. But I think God actually kept me out of it because knowing my luck, my ass would have fucking died as soon as boots on the ground, Step off the plane.
That's the thing I always thought about too, like, like as angry as I was as a teenage kid and stuff, and like being like, yeah, I want to go, but I can't, too young, whatever the case be. But then by the time, 2000, 3004, 2005 pulls around and stuff like that, and I'm, 18 to 20, give or take, and I'm seeing the after effects of what's already happened to these first guys that went over there and stuff, and I'm just like, I'm so glad I don't have to go.
Yeah, every time I see the military or a military movie or something, I get that, oh, fuck, man, I wish I would have been able to join, because I promise you, if I would have been weight at 18 years old, I would have went. My mom used to actually tell me that if I ever enlisted, she'd shoot me in the foot to keep me from going, because she knew, especially around that time, what was going on. So I always thought that was funny. And that wasn't the reason I didn't actually go, no, but I knew they wouldn't.
I was laughing because that reminded me of that one Family Guy scene where you had Brian and Stewie join the military and then shoot each other in the foot. And they were hobbling off or whatever, and they were being told, like, oh, that doesn't disqualify you, dude. Get back over there now. Guard that tent. So
I don't remember that episode.
Yeah, it was something crazy where they were in the place, whatever the case be there. Hang on a sec, I gotta keep this show going. I gotta talk to somebody for a sec.
I agree, 500. I've thought that for a long time now. The people that are actually on camera are just puppets, and there's the puppet masters behind the scenes controlling them, telling them what to say or do. And that's another thing, because I saw your comment about 9/11 and about Bush. I just think it's weird, and not really weird, but wrong and convenient, that the day before 9/11, I believe it was Bush's uncle met with bin Laden's uncle. And then the next day, boom, 9/11 happened.
I think I might have heard about that, but I'm not sure. I do remember 9/10, 2001, though. Rumsfeld talking about the 2.3 trillion that went missing, and then all of a sudden, never heard from again because it was 9/11 after that.
Exactly. There's a lot of fishy shit that surrounds 9/11, not just the building collapses, this, that, and the other, but even leading up to that day, I mean, just everything just stinks bad.
Yeah. Well, and then you look at the forever war that we were in for over 20 years and how many countries were invaded by the U.S. military on behalf of, like, freedom and democracy and all this other bullshit that we're not a thing of at all. And then you look at how many of these countries before that had Rothschild central banks in them and how many have them after that. And it was almost zero before that. And it's like several hundred now.
Yeah.
So,
real
shady shit.
If I remember correctly, I think the Bush family had a pretty good relationship with the bin Laden family.
Probably. I know bin Laden was a CIA asset in the 1980s and was trained by us. That's all I know.
Yeah, and then the fucker tries to blow up the Trade Centers in 93 with that van bomb, and obviously it didn't do anything except make a pretty boom, and that was about it. It did minor damage.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I also find it convenient because I know we've all talked about this before at nauseum on Honda's chat, but how there was people caught, drilling holes into the foundation and shit and resealing it with concrete. And just like we were talking about last night, how the plume of smoke you can see as each floor explodes right as it's collapsing or right before it collapses. I mean, it's just all fucking just all kinds of wrong. It stinks to high heaven, and I don't trust the government on what they say because at the end of the day, I think they're just evil pieces of shit.
Well, not only that, but then you got that missing 28 pages in the 9/11 report that actually detail exactly who was behind it. That only a handful of sitting senators and congressmen have seen at this point in history.
Yeah, how convenient, right? I forgot about that, but yeah, it's very fucking convenient that it just poof, magically disappears.
Which, to switch topics and actually transition to a different topic here, brings us to what we had in the title of this, which is about Liberty Safe and how they can go fuck themselves.
Oh, you mean liberal safe? Okay.
Yes, I do. I do mean liberal safe, where they will literally hand your access code to the fucking feds as long as they have a warrant. And also, somehow, this safe company has a backdoor access code to your shit.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
To the point where you now have had multiple different safe companies come out and be like, "Go fuck yourself, liberal." So, but yeah, I was watching one the other day. It was from a guy called Securit. He was the CEO of that company, which is like a lock. It's like a handgun safe company or locking company or something. I think they also make vault doors and stuff too, if I'm not mistaken. And he was basically telling people straight up, like, this is how you reset their default code to your own code, basically. And telling everybody across the board, be like, hey, you want to take a stance? Take the stance of get rid of any kind of database y'all have right now of this shit, of any kind of code you have for them.
Exactly.
And come out publicly and be like, yes, we had these codes and we've gotten rid of them now, kind of thing or whatever. So who's to say how many are actually going to do that or not? And then on top of that, you had there's another one who Black Scout Survival was talking about recently. It's called Parker Safes, and they're a vet-owned company. They do safes, and I think they also do vaults too, if I'm not mistaken. And they were talking about how they would rather go to jail than ever throw somebody under the bus that don't care what it's about.
And see, that's the thing is the guy who this is actually involving, he was the only one that was served with a warrant for that safe. Liberty Safe just handed the combination over just because they weren't forced to, they chose to. And then fucking last night, Yankee was trying to defend the position with Matt that, oh no, they did have a warrant, they were served, so they had an obligation, and if they didn't, they could have faced legal ramifications, been arrested. And no, because they even came out, what was it, like a day or two after this happened, and revised their policy and said that they won't cooperate with law enforcement unless they're served with a warrant or subpoena.
Yeah, so they came out with the original statement, and that's what went viral. Everybody was backlashing immediately against them. We're like, fuck you. We're going to, boycott your fucking company into the ground at this point, Bud Light style. And it was either a day later, it was 2 days later, they came out and made that bullshit statement of like, oh, we're so sorry, but not really. Like, as I told my mom a couple days ago about the whole thing. It reminded me of that South Park episode where you have people talking to the cable companies, and all the dudes have those weird little like tassel things they can pull down off their nipples, and they're just like rubbing their nipples, being like, "We're so sorry, bro." But it's like not really, like it's all a bunch of sarcastic assholes. What it is, but yeah, that's what I felt like with the Liberty thing.
I commented on that post where they said they revised their policy, and I said, "You've already tarnished your name."
Well, the thing is too, in the original post that they had made, they let the comments go for like 8 hours and then immediately like blacklisted everybody off of them was what it was.
I just completely
did it with comments.
But yeah, I told them that they tarnished their name, proved that they're a sellout, and they will learn from the ramifications of their actions, meaning us boycotting them losing so much business and everything.
Well, the thing is, too, if
And
you're going to boycott them as a
they'll
company, you have to boycott every brand that they make right now, because it's not just Liberty that they make. They make a bunch of different brands. They make ones for Cabela's and Bass Pro, and under their brand names there. They make other ones for other places. I forget exactly who all they do and whatnot. But yeah, there's a bunch of different things. So you'd have to look up their parent company and go every single brand underneath it and be like, boycott all of them.
But here's the thing. Matt was telling Yankee last night that Liberty Safe doesn't even make their lock mechanism, like their keypad.
Yeah, it's a third-party company.
It's through another company.
Yep.
So I know we're giving Liberty Safe a bunch of shit, but should we not give them some shit too? I mean,
well, the thing is, we don't know what their name is what it is in most cases. At least I don't right now. But yes, we should be giving that locking company shit too, because they're obviously the ones setting those default codes of that thing.
Yeah, putting in the backdoor access.
Exactly. Or working with the people that are behind Liberty Safe to do that stuff. And by the way, for those that don't know, the company who owns Liberty Safe, I believe it was 2021, were the ones who did they sold out to some other, it's like a hedge fund or whatever the case be, that's owned by a bunch of leftists here in the East Coast. And it was that fucking company that paid a bunch of Democrats campaign funds, including Randolph Warnock, John Ossoff, Mark Kelly, and a bunch of other anti-gunners too, for that matter. So, yeah, they're complete fucking scumbag Nazi pieces of shit, basically.
It seems like it doesn't matter. You could throw a rock, metaphorically, obviously, to just about any company and find that they're all shady to an extent. Not all, because, I know there's still some good companies out there, especially privately owned businesses, small mom and pops and whatnot. But for the most part, it's like fucking crooked is as crooked does. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. And then speaking of
what's up,
Nazi pieces of shit, sheriff in New Mexico's most populous county rejects governor's gun ban, calling it unconstitutional. This is obviously one of the big stories of the day, is Michelle Lupin Grisham, one of the biggest cunts on planet Earth. This woman should have been removed from office at least 3 to 4 years ago, when she tried to push red flag laws in New Mexico, and you had like 30 sitting sheriffs or something tell her to go fuck off, and they weren't going to enforce her shit then. They should have arrested her on the spot right then and there for deprivation of law. Didn't do it. And then during the lockdowns, like I was mentioning last night in Honda's chat, she proceeded to basically force giant businesses like Walmart and stuff like that to only have 10 people per store within like an hour's time span or whatever inside of the place, because of social distancing crap, whatever she put in place there.
Yeah.
And yeah, she should be at this point charged with crimes of humanity and a bunch of other stuff for that matter. It's ridiculous she's still a sitting governor at all. Because she like, and I'll say it like it is, dude. Just like Katie Hobbs cheated in Arizona in 2022, Grisham cheated in New Mexico in 2022, 100%. Also, the guy that took, I forget if it was a guy or a gal that took Nevada's governorship, they cheated too. So did Whitmer in Michigan. So did Janet Mills in Maine. So did Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, along with Fetterman in the U.S. Senate there in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot. There's at least like probably 10 sitting Democrat governors right now that are not legally holding power in this country because they're all a bunch of damn cheaters. And if we actually did election audits in this country correctly, they would be ousted from power immediately, is what it is. And Grisham's just one of like the 10 or 12 of them is what it is right now. So
I just don't see why the fucking sheriff's department or troopers or whoever, some kind of police force there, doesn't go to her business or, her office or her home and arrest her for this unconstitutional treasonous act. I mean, how can you sit there and say on TV that you assumed extra power to do this and that it's lawful when it is totally unconstitutional?
Well,
Plus, other things she said in that statement, just it's like, are you kidding me? I can't believe you just fucking said that.
Well, I think the issue becomes the fact, and I've said this many, many times, that deprivation rights are a code of law, is it's a nationwide misdemeanor when it should be a felony. If it was a felony, we ourselves as a citizenry could literally walk up to her house, her governor's mansion, whatever it is the case be, and arrest her ass on the spot under citizen's arrest. But because it's not a felony charge, we don't have that power to do that. It has to be a sitting sheriff or a sitting police chief or whatever the case be that actually does their fucking job.
Yeah, but let's be honest. If it was a felony, would you actually be part of the quote unquote team or whatever you want to call it to go and try to pull a citizen's arrest on the governor that's has security around?
I wouldn't give a fuck because I'd arrest the security guards too for actually interfering in that citizen's arrest.
Yeah, but still, I mean that's kind of like almost kind of like a sketchy situation. I get the sentiment behind it, and I would love to be a part of it. But I could just see all the bad shit that would come out of someone trying to do that. You know, a big ass firefight might ensue, or I mean,
and that's the thing, and it might be the thing that kicks off the civil war in this country for the second time around. But that's the thing. I mean, we are so overdue for one anymore. Like, let's fucking get it over with already. We're done with it, man.
Honestly, no, true. I get it, and like I said, I personally, I guess it would depend. I don't know, because on one hand I would see myself totally doing that, but on the other I'd have to maybe not do it, or at least weigh every possible fucking thing about it, because at the end of the day, I have a bunch of people that depend on me.
Well, and the thing is, it might not even be you having to do the citizen's arrest, because if it is a legit felony at that point, you could actually go to sitting sheriffs, go to sitting, police in this country and be like, straight up, dude, be like, you need to either give an ultimatum at that point, be like, you do your job in the next 7 days and arrest this bitch for this shit, or we're going to start citizens arresting your asses right now. And I think that alone would be enough of a pressure point to force something. And if that means them doing their jobs, then good. If it means something else, then it's whatever at that point. But anyway, going back to what was said here in this article, it said, sheriff in New Mexico's largest metro area vowed Monday not to enforce an emergency order by governor to temporarily suspend the right to carry firearms in public in and around the city of Albuquerque for the next 30 days. Said it's unconstitutional, so there is no way we can enforce this order. Bernalillo County Sheriff John Allen said in a press conference today, said this ban does nothing to curb so-called gun violence, which is all gang violence. Said reaction has been swift after Democrat Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham announced on Friday, telling reporters that she expected legal challenges and that the state police would handle enforcement. Quote, I welcome debate and fight about how to make New Mexicans safer, while also acknowledging that criminals surely would ignore her order. Yeah, she's just trying to grab for power is what it is, dude. And honestly, like, truthfully speaking, knowing how corrupt this woman truly is, would it really surprise anybody? Because they're trying to bait and switch the shit out of Biden right now.
Yeah.
Would it really surprise anybody if they tried to pick this fucking cunt for 2024, honestly, and use this as precedent to do it? Be like, well, look, there's a Democrat doing something now, even though it's unconstitutional as fuck and should be an immediate arrestable offense.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them trying to maybe put her in the race, but she, for the all intents and purposes, she's a nobody.
Yeah.
They would have a much better shot if they honestly try to do Clinton again, Hillary, or
Big Mike. Yeah.
Big Mike, yeah. Michael, I mean Michelle. Michelle, I'm sorry.
You mean Obama 2.0?
Exactly.
Obama's third term or fourth term, whatever they want to call it. Actually, yeah, I guess it would be fourth term, technically speaking, since Biden is third term right now.
There's a lot of people that say that he's actually the one running shit right now, and Joe is just the puppet face for media.
That's exactly what's going on right now.
Because I remember an interview that he gave, I don't remember to who, but they asked him, if you could run for a third term, would you? And he said no. But if he could run the country from the basement of his home, and I don't remember if he used basement, but I'm just using it, and have someone as the face for the people to see, he would totally do it that way. And I believe that's what's going on right now. Because I'm sorry, that dude is so fucking far gone in the head that even before he got elected, he was already fucking sliding. His cheese was sliding off the cracker. Not to mention, I don't think he's the real Biden.
Yeah. To go back to the whole Albuquerque thing. So yesterday in New Mexico, there in Albuquerque, you had a bunch of citizens tell the governor to go fuck herself and did their own little rally there.
I was watching a couple of the
we
videos.
We will not comply. Most of them were open carrying. A bunch of people were open carrying ARs and handguns, etc.
I saw
this
some
woman
shotguns.
Right here is actually this redheaded woman here is actually one of the state reps. Is not trying to impeach Grisham over this whole thing, as she should be impeached. And good. Hopefully, it becomes a thing where she gets tossed out of fucking office.
I hope so.
The thing is, like, it's not even just Michelle Lipin Grisham that he's throwing out, though. It is her and her lieutenant governor right now. So it would be whoever the third in line would be. You'd have to make sure that that person's a good person to take over and impeach both the governor and the sitting governor and lieutenant governor, and then take it down to the third in line. Would that be Secretary of State, or that be Speaker of the House, or Senate President, whatever it is there at a state level? Because it changes from state to state is what it is. So
I wish to God we could literally wipe the slate clean, take out everyone from any position of power from the top down. I mean, from the president all the way down to local fucking politicians. I don't care if it's the chair of the fucking school board or, the water district, you name it. I don't care. It from top down needs to be wiped clean. And I don't mean death or anything. I just mean they need to be taken out of office and replaced by true patriots.
Yeah, according to this, it said it was over 100 people open carried there. It said, quote, "We're not here to cause any issues. We're just here to, express our amendment rights and go from there," said Derek J., a gun owner. Said this was a rally against the part of Grisham's public health emergency on gun violence, specifically the part where she banned carrying guns openly or concealed, even with concealed carry permits in Bernalillo County and the city of Albuquerque for the next 30 days. Says no constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. There are restrictions on free speech. There are restrictions on my freedom, claimed Grisham on Friday. Yeah, that alone should see her removed from office just based on that statement. Like that, honestly, that needs to be impeachment article number 1 against her ass, is that statement. And then the other ones would be everything else she's done since that's what it is. And then even going back, like I said, to 2020 lockdown stuff that she pulled there, back to early 2020 or 2019 when she did the red flag law crap back then. So many different things there. And then we says, quote, "My jaw dropped for the second amendment, a second amendment to be suspended. It's unconstitutional. We're going to put it that way. A lot of people here feel the same way," said Derek. Republican State Rep Stephanie Lord, who's the redhead that we were talking about earlier in that video, represents a district including Sandra Park. She said she was in the Old Town rally and taking her anger a step further, said, "So this is why I filed an impeachment. Representative John Block and I filed impeachment articles, which we plan to have done this week, and we plan on trying to push that through because Grisham has done an illegal act and violated her oath. What in her pitch for a solution to gun violence in our state, Lord believes the governor should reconsider legislation that got nowhere in the roundhouse." And then basically what it was. So,
did it ever say how many people were at that quote unquote rally?
It said at the very beginning it was about 100 or so, give or take.
Okay.
I think it was more than that, honestly, though, because that's the thing. You can't just guesstimate a number is what it is. Like, you'd have to go back and individually count who was all there is what it is.
No, I know, and even the videos I saw.
It's just like how when you look at the left and stuff like that, they'll sit there and be like, "Oh, there was 300 people here today," and then you actually look at the 1 or 2 photos they have that show the big group of them, whatever. And it's a few, maybe a couple dozen or something at most, 50 people, if even that many. So
I feel like it should have been a hell of a lot more, but
I think it was a last minute rally.
Well, true too, but I think a lot of people are honestly terrified to do any kind of rallies like that because of what happened on J6.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And not to mention the fact you have political prisoners now over that whole thing for, 2.5, 3 years now almost?
Yeah, exactly. Just like we were saying on, I think it was Honda's chat. or might have been Matt's, but how there's still people being held without due process this entire fucking time.
Which immediately violates a bunch of the Constitution at that point.
No shit.
Let's just go and talk about the pocket Constitution I have sitting right here, and let's just go ahead and talk about the violations of it that people have here. Let's see. No person, Article 5, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless upon a presentation or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in a land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life and limb, which is obviously double jeopardy in Fifth Amendment. So, yeah. Needless to say, it's a bunch of shit entirely. 100% Fifth Amendment rights violations, other rights violations too in the Bill of Rights. So, like, what is it? Eighth Amendment of coercion punishment.
Yep.
So,
it violates a whole slew of them, and they don't give a flying fuck because they
yeah. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor coronation punishment inflicted. Eighth Amendment. Then you could also talk about 10th Amendment rights violations on that one too, as well, if I'm not mistaken. So,
yep, it's become unbridled power, and that infuriates me because I can't even fucking talk right now because it's such fucking bullshit. And that alone, that act right there alone, of them going after all the January 6 people that had nothing to do with anything, and especially holding the ones without due process, you think should have enraged the fucking people enough to say, hey, no, this is not right. You need to stop it. You know, go and rescue the people from jail that shouldn't be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Something. Well, then I'll actually go one step further than that, and I'm glad I waited a couple days to do this episode.
Trying to phrase it.
As of this morning, you had at least the 50th Democrat insurrection in the past year now, because they were in Speaker McCarthy's office today doing all kinds of fucking insurrection shit the left was. And yet again, you had what? Enrico Torrio get 22 years recently, not even being there for seditious conspiracy shit. Yet these fucking cocksuckers are going to be able to sit there and go in there and fucking block official proceedings from going on and not be arrested for shit.
Yeah. It's mostly peaceful protest, remember?
Yeah. And then I was on Reddit this morning and last night and stuff like that. You had some of these fucking assholes talking about Republicans talking about Civil War and stuff like that. And trying to sit there and claim that it's Republican Party and stuff like that's inflaming a potential civil war in this country. And it's like, yeah, and it's you fucking leftist douchebags that are the ones that are doing all this treasonous shit to fucking cause the goddamn thing to start to begin with.
Yep, I agree. Yeah.
So
I think the whole fucking Democrat side and the leftists, and I'm sorry, even the fucking Republicans too, like fucking left, right, center doesn't matter.
Career for sure, yeah.
Yeah, they're all fucking treasonous cunts, in my opinion. I don't trust not one damn one of them.
And going back to the Grisham thing for a minute there, this is actually another article I pulled up today. Are gun laws under attack? A roundup of recent changes across the country. And what they mean by that is, are anti-gun laws under attack? So over the past 2 weeks, there have been a number of legislative and legal developments across the United States relating to gun laws. We've rounded up some of the most significant developments and provided analysis on whether these changes could find their way to ballot initiatives over the next year election cycles. It says gun laws forwarded. Federal judge blocked Biden administration from enforcing a new rule that would have required background checks for gun buyers under the age of 21. Says a state judge blocked an enforcement of new law in Indiana that would have banned the sale of long guns and so-called high-capacity magazines. It says gun laws overturned. A federal judge overturned a California law that required gun owners to show good cause to obtain a permit to carry a concealed weapon in public, which the Bruin decision alone on that one made that null and void.
Yep.
It says gun laws upheld. A federal judge upheld a Colorado law that bans the sale of bump stocks, devices that allow semi-automatic firearms to fire rapidly, So basically, unconstitutional judge there. And then we got a federal judge in Maryland, upheld Maryland law that bans the sale of so-called assault weapons and so-called high capacity magazines, which, it's all standard capacity, and ARs, AKs, etc. So basically blocking the shit that would have knocked out their AWB crap at a state level there is what it is.
Yeah, one thing that still gets me is how these fucking places are still, anti-gun this, anti-gun that. Let's pass all these unconstitutional fucking laws and everything and deny people their rights when what speaks volumes, in my opinion, is the fact that over half of the states in this country have a form of constitutional carry.
Exactly.
And more are coming down the pike if they can get their bullshit government to fucking get off their asses. But I mean, we would already be at 30 by now if these other, like Louisiana and the Carolinas and stuff would get it.
Well, Louisiana has a governor's race coming up here at the end of the year. That idiot John Bel Edwards is termed out, thank fucking God. He will be replaced by somebody, most likely the current, I want to say, Secretary of State there, who is a Republican and also super pro-2A and stuff like that. That dude, I almost guarantee if he can get into office, will 100% be the one that gives them constitutional carry in 2024 is what it is. Yeah. And the only reason it hadn't passed in Louisiana at this point, obviously, is because you had some rhino sellouts basically straight up say to people, be like, oh, well, I was a yes vote on this, but now all of a sudden I'm getting this kickback from my personal company that does random road work and stuff. Now I'm going to go ahead and be a no vote here. And that alone should have been the final day in those fuckers' day in office there. Because they should have been arrested on that day for deprivation of Chicago laws, what would have been then. For selling out people's gun rights to the highest bidder, basically, what it is. But anyway, going back to the rest of this article here, it said legislative and political changes. Washington Governor Jay Inslee, who, by the way, is also illegally in office currently, signed a bill banning the sale of so-called assault rifles and high-capacity magazines. Colorado Governor Jared Polis signed a bill that raises the age to purchase a firearm from 18 to 21 and extends the waiting period for gun purchases of from 3 days to 7 days now. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan signed a bill that bans the sale of ARs, AKs, etc. and high-capacity magazines. New York City Assembly passed a bill that would ban the sale of body armor to civilians, which is absolute bullshit entirely. And this is other news. Supreme Court of the United States is scheduled to hear a case in October that would challenge the constitutionality of New York law that restricts the carrying of firearms outside the house, which that should have already been a thing because of Bruin.
Yep.
So it would be like another Bruin response, basically. Probably. Well, I know they passed that Bruin response bill too, if I'm not mistaken. So it'd be like a secondary Bruin bill, if I'm not mistaken. Then
they are so pissed off that Bruin from the Bruin decision and everything because you could tell how all these Democrat-controlled states are just fuming, trying to figure out ways to skirt around that fucking decision. And they're finding it very difficult and outright don't give a shit, as Grisham has proved that it doesn't matter. I'm gonna do what I want to. Fuck, the rights and laws of this country.
Yeah, and then you got Biden's bullshit administration announcing that it would propose a new rule that would ban the sale of quote-unquote ghost guns, aka privately manufactured firearms without serial numbers. Which actually brings me to a story I heard about, I believe it was yesterday, from Legally Armed America, which is you had a 20-year-old kid make his own P80 is what it was, take it into a gun shop to look for a holster for it. You had the gun shop owner take it from the kid, look at it, realize there was no serial number on it, and be like, how old are you? Give me your ID, bro. And then basically steal his gun and call the fucking feds on him is what it was. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, just the FUD fuckery in this country is just beyond reproach at this point, honestly.
What's Grisham's first name?
Michelle.
Michelle? So her name's Michelle Hitler, right?
Pretty much. I mean, truthfully speaking, like, there's been talk in the past of her actually being installed by cartels and shit. And the same thing with, like, Arizona, too, if I'm not mistaken, with people there.
Oh, kind of like Castro Jr. up north?
Yeah. Well, the thing about Lupin Grisham too is that she, I want to say the story I heard about her from like a year or so ago was about specifically there was people in their General Assembly there in New Mexico who actually were like technically illegally holding office that were installed by like cartel bosses and stuff.
Doesn't surprise me.
Whatnot. So
would not surprise me one bit.
But anyway, the rest of the article said, how will those changes impact 2024 ballot initiatives and elections? So the past 2 weeks, we've seen a mix of legislative and legal decisions about gun laws. It is a complex, controversial topic. The debate is likely to continue for many years to come. In fact, possible that some gun law issues listed above could turn into ballot initiatives in 2024. Some gun control advocates are already working on ballot initiatives in several different states. They're trying to fuck us in Ohio here is what it is in the next 6 months or so because of the real issue one, the August one that got fucked over because they lied to a bunch of people here in the state and had Bloomberg and Soros paid attack ads be like, and this is why you should vote no on issue one. In reality, it should have been a yes vote guaranteed because it would have been 60% of the vote then to change our state constitution, not 50% plus one person. And yeah, you literally had piece of shit Justin Bill up there in Cleveland say, oh, we need to make sure that this issue one gets voted down so that we can actually be able to go and do gun law shit now and fuck over state preemption and everything else like that. Because that's their end game here is what it is. They're trying to fuck over state preemption. They're trying to fuck over us having Article 1, Section 4 in our Ohio Constitution that would allow us to keep and bear arms. And basically, just they want to do everything. They want to do red flag laws in the state constitution. They want to do universal background check crap in the state constitution. They want to do everything that they can't get past our General Assembly right now because Democrats suck shit and are all a bunch of criminals here. And every other state for that matter, too. So they basically want us to become Washington State 2.0 is what it is.
Right.
So,
and let me ask this because I don't know. Someone brought this to my attention the other day, and I don't know if it's just a glitch or what. But if you look at Washington D.C. on like Google Maps or any other quote unquote map platform, that the D.C. is gone from it. It just says Washington as if there's two Washington states.
That's weird. Yeah, I don't know about that, man. That's strange.
Because it's on all of them. Because it was Led on Steel who brought it up to me, and he said he looked on several different ones, and I looked on mine, and the DC's just gone from it. It just says Washington.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's really interesting that people don't realize when it comes to federal government power and land and stuff like that is, technically speaking, the only land that the federal government can even own is that like 16 miles that make up Washington, D.C. And I think it's like a teeny little place in one of the desert states that's like a protected land mass. It's very small. It's like a couple miles long or something like that. Outside of that, they can't legally own anything. All these national parks that are quote unquote government owned land is bullshit entirely. That should all be able to be developed by American citizens if we want to put houses and stuff in these places.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's all overreach and grabs and everything. It's everything that our founding fathers fought against, and they would have never realized how many unelected alpha agency heads there are right now in this country, because they would have been like, rise the fuck up, people. Do it again.
Yeah, no shit. I'm sure they've been tossing and turning in their fucking graves for the past, I don't know how many fucking years or decades,
Which brings me to a couple other stories I want to talk about here that are all 2A related and stuff.
Well, hold on. Did you see that one interview during that Grisham protest against her bullshit where that guy was talking about I don't remember if he actually mentioned the founding fathers, but he was like
was he the one that was talking about doing military service and mercenary work and stuff?
No, he was the one that was talking about how we shouldn't basically have modern weapons because they only had muskets back then.
Oh, no, I didn't. There was I only watched a couple of the things for a couple minutes and stuff. I never got a chance to actually watch like the whole like 20-minute ones or anything like that.
I couldn't watch them all. It was just fucking my head was hurting from all the bullshit.
I never heard about that guy. The thing is though, Like, my response to those kind of people is that want to sit there and talk about muskets only or whatever the case be, I'll be like, okay, dude, do me a favor. Write that to me with your quill pen and ink pad and send it on horseback to me for about 6 weeks, and we'll talk about it after that then.
Well, not only that, they think only muskets were around back then. That's not true. They had more advanced firearms than that. Plus, they also had blueprints for more modern style weapons, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of our founding fathers owned the patents on Gatling guns and everything else like that back in the day. The thing about it was, the only reason that people always talk about muskets is because specifically it was the musket that was the most easy to mass manufacture for everybody.
Exactly.
You had these other ones that were harmonica guns and stuff like that had that whole thing that just went across and whatnot. And of course,
they
were
super dangerous, highly expensive, and they couldn't afford to build them.
Exactly. Well, not only that, but then there was also ones like that harmonica gun where it was basically you would pop off the one charge and it would just ricochet, chain reaction across the whole thing and blow up somebody's hand pretty much.
Yeah,
and that's why a lot of those people lost some hands back in those days because, they were trying to build better guns. In reality, what those became eventually were modern day revolvers and stuff like that. And, eventually you had, who was it? John Browning was the one that created the box magazine back in 1900-ish, give or take.
And plus, a lot of the, if not almost all these keyboard warriors are only getting their information from not only mainstream media, but from TV shows and movies. Because if you watch the movies from that are taking place in that period of time, all you ever see are muskets.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see anything else because it's not depicted, so therefore it's not true in their minds. I'm like, you're fucking retarded, you dumb cunts.
Well, then it's also the fact that it's not only the long gun muskets, it was also you had the handgun black powder charges and stuff like that were single shots.
Yeah.
And those were basically a handgun version of a musket, essentially.
Did you see that picture in Discord where someone took a picture of a woman that was carrying a musket on her hip? Because apparently she was a felon, and so she was carrying a musket.
Now I got to see this because
or not a musket, but it was the musket pistol, whatever. I forget what it's actually called.
Some kind of black powder.
Yeah, black powder pistol. But she's got it in a fucking holster and everything. It was fucking hilarious. I think it was under cursed picture.
Okay, let me check it out. I did see that. I don't know if you saw that one where it was that one episode of That 70s Show where it was a dude asking Danny Masterson, "Where do you see yourself in 30 years?" And he says, "Prison."
Yep, I saw that. That was fucking hilarious. I was like, "Oh snap!"
Yeah, that was. Oh man.
But yeah, I believe it was under cursed pictures in Matt's Discord.
Let me check it out.
But yeah, she's at the checkout counter ringing up her shit. And she's got a black powder pistol.
Okay, not seeing it.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Okay, it's not there. Let's see. Is it gun porn? Okay, I'm not finding under gun porn. Let's see. Is it gun discussions, maybe? Oh, yeah, it's gun discussions. Okay.
Okay, I couldn't remember where it went.
All right, let me go ahead and grab that up. And then
I just thought it was fucking hilarious. Better make that one shot count. That's all I can say.
Okay, so this is the pic that we are referring to right here. Yeah, that's a hell of a gun, man.
Yeah, no shit, right?
It looks like those pants don't quite fit properly. Like they need to be hiked up just like an inch or two.
Isn't that fucking thing would be damn near in your armpit?
Yeah, I guess that's true. And it could be the weight of it's just carrying her shit down if that be the case then.
Yeah, but dude, that's fucking... It's funny, but kind of awesome at the same time that someone had...
Well, there are other people out there that have done similar things before. There was one guy in Florida that I found out about years ago, and he was some kind of convicted felon or whatever the case be. and he was talking about black powder. So he would have a 6-shot revolver that was in black powder because you can actually carry those legally, is what it is. And his whole story was very interesting too, because the reason he was a convicted felon was because at the age of like 19 or 20, he ended up getting into some kind of an issue where there was like a gang after him for some reason or another, and we're trying to target his family or whatever. One of the guys came at him with their illegal possessed gun. He was able to get it away from them and kill them in self-defense with their own firearm, and then he was convicted of a bunch of crimes, is what it was. So,
what was he convicted of?
I believe, I'm trying to think. It was either manslaughter or like second or third degree manslaughter, maybe something like that. And then it was like sort of knocked down to some other charge, like aggravated assault with a deadly weapon or some shit like that, or something stupid. Again, it was one of these sort of DAs/prosecutor people that were just trying to make a name for themselves to get higher up in positions of power, is what it is. The same way that Amy Klobuchar decades ago
shit on the little guy to get a leg up,
who literally did nothing wrong, and yet she forced this young black child into a false confession to further her own bullshit career, is what it is now to U.S. Senate. And I bring that up for a reason, because I want to talk about this for a second right now, which is that goddamn JCPA media cartel bill bullshit is coming back again from this stupid fucking cunt, when she should have been tossed out of office back in 2020 when she failed to run for the presidency.
The what now? You said it too fast.
That it's called the JCPA media cartel bill is basically what it is. We talked about this like 6 months or 7 months ago, whatever it was, on Honda's chat once. I don't know if you were there that night. I know that the East Coast Corey was. I know his buddies were that day, because they heard
I
it
was
at that
there.
point. What it was is basically what they're trying to do is the government itself is now trying to collude with mainstream media because they know it's failing and dying, and it would stop people like what we're doing right now from having any kind of voice in anything, and it would force us to basically buy our way into some bullshit media pact, is what it is.
I remember that now,
a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, it's complete. Like, it is beyond unconstitutional. It is basically the Patriot Act on crack cocaine and heroin mixed together at this point.
Yeah, it's beyond egregious.
Like, it is one of the things that would directly start a civil war in this country, honestly.
Isn't there a bill supposed to go through SCOTUS sometime soon, probably November or maybe next year, to basically give back felons their 2A rights?
There is supposed to be something here. It's either next month or November, where it is a guy who is challenged, and they're supposed to be taking up the case here whenever they come back into session again.
It's November they come back.
It is some dude who got fucked over and was like wrongfully convicted of domestic violence or something like that, is what it was, who is now challenged to the Supreme Court, is what it is there.
Yeah, it's something. It's something Bonta.
Oh, that's
right?
what it is. It's the Colorado case where it was the ex-wife or something had red flagged this guy or whatever it was. And it basically fucked over his rights there, is what it is. And he was considered to be a felon in possession of like the so-called ghost guns or whatever it was there. And yeah, he is basically taking that Supreme Court now, is what it is. And I believe this is the case they're going to hear, is what it is there.
Yeah,
he's like, no, this is absolute bullshit. Like, I should not be a convicted felon right now, and even if I am, I should be able to have my rights restored, basically, is what it is. And
yeah, 100%. I've always said and believed that, if someone served their time and are deemed worthy to be back into the general population of the world, they should have all their rights back, including their 2A, regardless of being a felon or not. Now, if they are too dangerous to be in society again, they should have to remain in prison until they are deemed worthy. If not, they should stay in prison. I'm sorry. Prison needs to be reformed instead of being for profit. These motherfuckers need to be back on chain gangs, busting up sides of the road, rocks on the side of the road, or cleaning up the sides of the road. The motherfuckers need to start farming again for their own food, like they used to back in the day, because if they didn't farm, they didn't eat.
It needs to be kind of like that movie Life.
Yes. Prison should be...
here's the gun line. Do not cross the gun line unless you want to get shot.
Right. Prison should be absolutely miserable. They should be only guaranteed a place to sleep and a roof over their heads. They have to farm for their food. They have to work their ass off, no rec time, no lifting weights, in leisure hour, but it should be so fucking miserable that people don't want to be there. Therefore, they will, naturally create better citizens because there'll be true consequences to their actions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It infuriates me.
Yep.
Sorry, I know I keep going on these tangents. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Going on to one of the other stories I want to talk about today, which is, quote, more school districts are bringing back or adding police. So-called experts say it may not help. I would love to know who these douchebags are, by the way, that claim it's not going to help at all. Because they're a bunch of liars. Yeah, it says 2021, a year after racial justice protests began throughout the spreading country, District of Columbia City Council voted to gradually phase out school resource officers by 2025, but in May, council members voted to repeal that plan after pushback from Mayor Muriel Bowser, who said in a statement last year that school leaders overwhelmingly opposed removing school resource officers because of fights on campuses and concerns over student well-being. And then goes on from there, basically. But yeah, it's so fucking stupid, man. And one of my biggest problems entirely with everything going on right now.
Did you freeze?
No, I was sorry. I realized when I did my thing, for some reason, it was bringing the thing up as a shot and not as a like it was phasing us out and just bringing up the pictures of the articles over then. So I had to change the stuff around here a minute. But yeah, no, anyway.
The school resource cops have gotten out of control. I don't know how many videos where the school resource cops are basically beating the shit out of students. I remember that one where that dude picked up that fucking girl out of the chair and was fucking, basically.
Well, and the thing is too that at the same time, there are a lot of school districts that can't afford to have a school resource officer in every school because you only have like 2 or 3 cops on the force. There is what it is, which brings me to another article I want to talk about right now. This is something that the Ohio Secretary of State pointed out this morning, which is some small towns in America are disbanding police forces, citing hiring woes. Some part of Minnesota, said a Goodhue police chief, Josh Smith, struggled this summer to fill vacancies in the small department. He warned the town's city council that unless pay and benefits improved, finding new cops would never happen. Said when nothing changed, Smith quit. So did the few remaining officers, leading the Minnesota town of 1,300 residents to shutter its police force in late August. America is in the midst of police officer shortage that many in law enforcement blame on a twofold moral hit of 2020, the shamdemic shutdowns and criticism of the cops that boiled over with the murder of George Floyd, who was not killed by police officers, that crackhead piece of shit, out of his own volition by smuggling in a bunch of drugs to his system is what it is. This is from Minnesota to Maine, Ohio to Texas. Small towns unable to fill vacancies are eliminating their police departments and turning over police work to their county sheriff, a neighboring town, or state police. The trend isn't altogether new. Said at least 521 U.S. towns and cities with populations of 1,000 to 200,000 people, that's a lot of people, by the way, disbanded policing from 1972 to 2017, according to a peer-reviewed 2022 paper by Rice University professor. So in the past 2 years, at least 12 small towns have dissolved their police forces entirely. It says Goodhue County is now under contract with law enforcement deputies in the town of Goodhue, even as Sheriff Marty Kelly tries to fill 4 vacancies in his own department. He said he has about 10 applicants for those jobs. By comparison, one open position in 2019 drew 35 people. Jesus. It says Kelly knows that to get the staff filled, he'll have to hire new deputies away from other towns and counties, creating vacancies in other places that will struggle to fill them even more. It says, scary, said Kelly. We are robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we're not alone. At the heart of the problem is the exodus of law enforcement officers. Resignations were up 47% compared to 2019. The year before the shamdemic and Floyd's killing, retirements are up 19%. That's all according to various studies. About 200 police agencies from Police Executive Reform and Washington, D.C. based affiliate think tank said survey represents agencies affiliated with PERF, a faction of the MOVE, the more than 18,000 law enforcement agencies nationwide, and is not representative of all departments. One of the few efforts to examine police hiring and retention of cops to compare it to the time before the killing of George Floyd. It says, compounding the exodus of veteran officers, young people are increasingly unwilling to go through the months of training necessary to become cops. So Chuck Wexley, executive director of that forum, says fewer people are applying to be police officers and more officers are retiring or resigning at a tremendous rate. There's a shortage of cops across the country. Agencies of all sizes are struggling to fill open positions. Problem is especially dire in small communities that can't match the pay and incentives offered by bigger places. So, yeah, not good in a lot of cases, honestly. And it makes sense when you start looking at places like where I live, where you have a bunch of crazy ass retail theft going on and nobody doing anything about it because you don't have the cops to actually do the fucking job to do the damn crime.
Yeah, nobody wants to be part of that corrupt bullshit anymore. And not to mention, they've lowered the standards so much to be a police officer that they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Because wasn't there an actual case here recently where a couple of cops got in trouble for them breaking the law themselves, but turns out one of them was actually a felon?
So that would be the Tyree Nichols case where they killed that guy.
Yeah.
2 of the guys on that Scorpion unit were never qualified to begin with. They had to lower the standards and then lower the standards again for them to even qualify. And it wasn't until after the 2020 rise that they were hired onto that police force. One of the guys in that, I believe it was one of the 2 of those dudes, was the ex-husband of some chick who Tyree was seeing, and that's why he was beaten to death by the pieces of shit. And then the other one was just a complete unqualified jackass in general, is what it is, that had like violent offenses and everything else like that then too as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And then you also get cops like that one piece of shit. What was it in Minnesota, I think, where that chick was coming up in her pajamas asking for help, and he just pulls his gun out, reaches over his partner's face, and kills her.
Noir, whatever his name was, the Somali, first Somali on the force, last Somali on the force.
Yeah, you get people like that.
Justine Diamond is who that woman was that was murdered.
Yeah, you get people like that that have no right or business being in kind of authority and carrying a deadly weapon.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that, I think, goes more to the fact that we're talking about foreign nationals who should never be allowed to hold any position of authority in this country because they're not pro-America. They're pro whatever the fuck country they come from. That's why they always call themselves Arab Americans or Israeli Americans or some other stupid shit like that. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. You know, you're like, talking.
Nah, bro.
You were talking about school resource cops a while ago, and made me think of what happened to me when I was in high school. My little small rinky-dink town ended up putting a school resource cop in because it was a bad school. Trust me. I mean, I remember a couple times people calling in bomb threats just to get out of class. So
they're doing that here recently too.
But I actually ended up being good friends with this guy. I used to go to his office and sit for a while and bullshit with him. But when I first met him, I thought he was a piece of shit because I was in speech class and we were given a topic to do a speech on whether you were for legalizing or against legalization of any drug. The teacher said, pick a drug from the dictionary and do a speech on it, whether you're for or against it. And I was for legalizing marijuana because that's the topic we chose. And my partner was like, I'm against it. So I was like, okay. So I ended up writing this badass speech. I got an A+ on it because I asked help from my aunt and my uncle, who my uncle at the time was active duty ATF. And my aunt was a county sheriff. So I talked to both law enforcement and got their side of it and got their help. And it was so well done that the school resource cop pulled me into his office and asked me if I was smoking marijuana and addicted to it, that he wanted to send me to get help and was just grilling me about getting help and about smoking marijuana. And I'm like, dude, it was a fucking speech. If you weren't new here, you would know who my aunt was, because everybody in the town knew who my aunt was pretty much, because they knew my family, because most people knew my grandparents, loved them. And not to mention my wife, or my aunt was the county fucking sheriff deputy, Uncle ATF. I'm like, come on, dude, you're fucking stupid. Back off. But I just want to get you help. Shut the fuck up.
I just want to get your help because I want to get your dealer's name so I can buy from him too.
Probably, I wouldn't doubt it. But I was like, no, I don't fucking smoke marijuana. I do smoke cigarettes, but because, I kind of smelled like it, because I've been smoking cigarettes since I was 13.
That was one of the funniest things, actually, when I was growing up as a kid. We had the DARE program in my elementary school, and it was a local cop that came there and was like, oh, yeah, kids, this is why you shouldn't do drugs, blah, 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 blah. And then it was like 4 or 5 years down the road, he came up in the paper for being arrested because apparently he was going into the evidence locker and stealing drugs and then selling them on his own.
Wow, that isn't surprising. That happens more often than people think. But I didn't tell him this, but of course back then, I smoked. But I wasn't going to tell a fucking pig that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I haven't in many, many, many moons, but there's once upon a time where I did.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do things in the past, and doesn't mean that they shouldn't be.
It should be held against them in the future. Yeah. I never did anything else because I was too worried about being a statistic that, first time user or whatever it is, dies from an overdose. So I never did try anything else and didn't care to.
Yeah. I think many people didn't. So, anyway. Let's see. I feel like there was one last story on top of this. Oh, yeah, that's right. Final story of the day goes back to what we were talking about here a few weeks ago, which is the Takia Young story, because Kroger in the last few days has finally released the actual footage of this dumb bitch stealing like a dozen bottles of alcohol here.
Yep.
So we're going to watch some of this here. There she comes right there with her little basket and her white purse.
Not to mention her friends did the same thing.
Yeah. Well, this is just her right now.
Oh, no.
Doing the robbery, looking, because you can tell she's looking suspiciously around too. Like, anybody looking at me? Anybody looking at me? Nope. Yep. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay, this white guy over here looking at me? Nope. Okay.
And that one friend,
like I'm getting some stuff
right here. How do you not notice the camera?
Yeah. You just keep looking at stuff. Okay, so given the place she's at right now, this particular aisle, we got what appears to be Jaeger on the thing there, so that's decently expensive. And then over here, I think it is, I want to say some of the bottles she was grabbing was maybe Crown Royal and some other stuff like that, which can be pricey depending on the thing.
Yeah, depending on the flavor.
Yeah. Okay, so right there, she pulls out another bag from her other bag, like a big old tote bag, undoes that now, walks over, 1 bottle, 2 bottles.
Gotta get that 5-finger discount.
Hell yeah. 3 bottles. Let's see, any more? Yep. 4 bottles in. Okay, so she got 4 bottles in that bag right now.
I'm having a party tonight.
Grabs a 5th bottle, throws it in there. I swear to God, she just looked directly at the camera when she did that last one.
Yeah, right. And then she's like, not to be suspicious, I'm going to put a couple in this little tote now, in this little carry basket.
Go over here, grab something maybe a little bit less expensive. Another one over here, maybe that's a little bit more expensive. There comes her friends.
I'm gonna go get my. Where my 40 at? I need my Mad Dog 2020.
Then she comes over here, takes those out of that basket. That's another 3 that she puts in her other bag. Grabs 2 more, puts them in there. Or no, sorry, grabs 1 more, puts it in there.
Girls,
and then proceeds to act as if she's looking around and thinking, oh, no, I guess I don't want this after all. Let me just go ahead and set this one on the shelf over here.
Right.
And then grab something even less expensive. Probably like the 5. I'm guessing that's like the 5 and under bottle section, honestly.
Who knows?
And then looking around, looking at the people that are at the cashier's area there.
I'm gonna go stand in line with all my booze in my bag because I'm stupid.
Yep. And I can't remember if she actually buys anything here or not. I don't think she does.
No, I think she ends up putting it down and walks out. Let me make sure this is what I want.
Okay. Oh, no, that's where they all just walked out together then.
She walked out with the fucking tote. Wasn't there a couple bottles in there too?
Yeah, there's a couple bottles in the basket. And that's them walking through the aisle again. Looks like she had already gotten rid of the basket then at some point. Then walking through the self-checkout area. And right out the door.
I wonder how many they all stole together. Because we know how many she stole herself.
Yeah, she stole at least like 10, anywhere from like 8 to 10, it looks like herself. If not 12 even. And then her buddies probably had a couple in their own purses, and I'm guessing. And then, of course, this was right as she was going outside then. So, yeah.
Let's go have some shit. Let's go have some trash can punch, girls.
Yay! And then, which leads us to some of the comment sections on Black Conservative Perspectives thing for this today, which was you had somebody here talking about how the time she had her kids, baby at 15, baby at 19, which I think was actually 18. Grandma had custody and a restraining order against her, pregnant at the age of 21, while pregnant, stealing alcohol, disobeying law enforcement, tried to kill the cop by running him over, and now is killed. So, yeah. And everybody else is basically talking about how she was an idiot, tried to drive into a police officer, et cetera, et cetera. And like I said, the only thing that I would say about it is the only thing that the cop did wrong was be a dumbass and stand in front of her vehicle, which in and of itself has been talked about in the past many times, which is a stupid-ass police tactic. Because
they used it as justification as shoot somebody.
And there was a couple scholar people, lawyer people and stuff recently for like Second Amendment related cases and whatnot that specifically said you cannot do shit like that because you're attempting to create a felony situation to justify your felony use of a firearm then or something like that is what it is.
Mm-hmm. And like Krabby just said, her family is going to sue.
Oh, of course they will.
In this day and age, they're probably going to win.
Well, the worst part of it is it's going to be they're going to sue the city of Columbus where this happened at, or not Columbus, but it was like one of the suburbs of Columbus. So they're probably going to sue the city of Columbus, that specific city of Westerville area where it happened at. And then probably the state of Ohio, so it'll be multiple lawsuits. It'll be some Tamir Rice style shit or something like that, I'm guessing, where they'll get some kind of a payday. But
the ghetto lottery.
In reality, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, dude, I'm going to run for 2026 if we're still a functioning country. And if I can take down the governorship then, come 2027, one of my first acts in the governorship will be we will never pay out a so-called wrongful death lawsuit ever again for shit like this. Go fuck yourself. You're not getting any kind of payday here.
Yeah, because it's one of those cases where you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And she played it.
And that's exactly what it would be. It'd be a piece of legislation that's like, fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take somebody with some fucking balls getting into power and doing some shit like that, not just some weak ass old men.
Is that cop on paid leave? Because Eduardo said he thinks they're on paid leave
right now. Honestly, I know that they were taken out, and I know that the internet obviously finds the shit out because they're all like, "Oh, we're not going to release the officer's name or whatever," and they found out the guy's name in like a day or two is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go. Let's go over to Twitter right now. I'll just look it up real quick.
And I'm sorry. In those kind of situations, cops should not be put on paid leave. If they're going to be put on leave whatsoever, it needs to be unpaid. Why are we paying for these cops to be not working? We shouldn't. It pisses me off, especially if it's up in the air whether it was justified. You damn sure don't need to be paid. But I don't.
So actually going to the top Twitter things when you look up Kroger shooting cop.
Stealing.
You got this dumbass on September 1st saying, Ohio cop murdered 21-year-old Takia Young, shooting her through her windshield at Kroger. Young was 7 months pregnant, blah, 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 has 2 small children. These are kids, by the way, that are still alive. And then you had this person a couple days ago when they finally released the footage saying, I'm having a hard time getting worked up over the shooting. A pregnant woman clearly stealing booze on camera, then trying to run over a cop. Why should I protest brain dead behavior?
Right. She was actually pregnant at the time, stealing booze.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She was 7 months pregnant. And that's what even Black Source Respect was saying earlier in his video. He was like, what the hell was she going to go do? Do fetal alcohol syndrome on this fucking poor kid?
Yeah, apparently.
And that's exactly what it was. So you had her have a son at the age of 14, 15, another son at like 17, 18, and now at 21, she was about to have this daughter in a couple of months.
Well, let me ask this.
Ironically enough, the left, being all pro-abortion and shit and trying to put this on the ballot come the 7th, are now all like, oh, but this is so sad and this cop should get tried with double murder for this, blah, 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 blah.
I was fixing to ask that. If he is actually convicted of murdering her, would they charge him with their double murder?
Possibly.
And if they do, how hypocritical is that, especially with the whole abortion movement right now, saying my body, my choice, we should have the right to be able to kill our babies whenever we want. This is fucking that would be hypocritical.
It's such a bunch of shit all the way around, and I'm so sick and tired of these fucking people across the board, because they'll sit there and bitch and moan about it every single time. And it goes back to the whole thing of like, they want to eat their cake and have it too shit.
Exactly, Eduardo.
I think we got to go back to like pre-19th Amendment at some point here is what it is, man. I'm just going to say it like it is.
I don't know, something.
I don't know what it's going to be anymore. Like, because I don't want to go back to like what our founders had, because it would strip a lot of people of voting rights at this point, because you would not have a whole lot of landowners in this country. And then of course you have people fuck around with that shit where they would just buy like a small swath of land and just sell it by like inches of land to people, and you're a landowner now kind of thing, whatever, to get away from that is what it would be then. Like a skirt around the system kind of deal or whatever there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Constitutional testing, maybe. IQ testing, maybe. Who the fuck knows? You know, like you must be this tall to ride the ride kind of thing or something.
Yeah, I think it should be mandatory for any cop active on the force or even coming on the force as a rookie. They should know the Constitution inside and out, damn near word for word. That's a little excessive, but they should know also as many of the fucking laws on the book as possible, because that pisses me off how they say to us civilians, us peasants, that ignorance of the law isn't an excuse, but in turn they know nothing about the fucking laws that they're supposed to uphold and defend. And
and then what is it, like every person breaks like or commits like several felonies a day without knowing it, or several misdemeanors a day without knowing it or whatever.
Yeah,
because of like state laws and then federal laws and everything else like that.
But there's just so many laws on the book that no one can keep up with it.
Yeah, exactly. And then meanwhile, you have cops themselves who are breaking a shitload of laws and people's civil rights on a daily basis for nothing.
Yep. And they get away with it because it's become unbridled power, and they think they're above the law. In fact, you know how this sovereign citizen bullshit exists? If anything, cops are sovereign citizens.
Yeah.
No, think about it.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying. Well, aren't they road pirates, though, I thought?
Well, true, too.
I've heard that term used a couple times.
Yeah, they are.
That's funny. I will say one thing though, and this is one thing I do find. I will watch the Sovereign Citizen videos on occasion just for the laughs, because usually it ends with them getting dog bit, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best ones was actually here in Ohio a few years ago, where it was this Sovereign Citizen guy who had like a fucking fake plate that he had made up himself or whatever with like crayons and shit that he placed in the plate holder thing there or whatever, and was like, "Oh, I'm a sovereign citizen and I don't control you. You can't control me, and I'm not gonna to your laws, blah 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 blah." And the cop is like, "You have 20 seconds to open this door or unlock this car, or whatever it is, or I'm gonna bust out this window, and I'm gonna send in this 170-pound Belgian Malinois or something like that." That's how he put it. And he's like, "He's gonna bite the shit out of you. Like, do the best thing for yourself, dude. Just unlock the damn door, basically." And the guy's like, "No, I'm not gonna do it." And all of a sudden, you just see wham, like one hit shit, fucking shatters the window. Dog gets thrown up in there, and this guy's just like, ah.
Yeah, that's kind of, you get what you get kind of thing. But personally, I don't think cops should have dogs because they abuse them. There's many cases where the cops abuse their dogs, beat the shit out of them. Not to mention, they will either gently pull on their leash or whatever to make them false hit on vehicles just so they can search and humiliate people. Not to mention, I'm sorry, if someone is threatening me with a dog, I'd be like, okay, don't, because I was actually mauled by a dog when I was 10. It was so bad that I had to have plastic surgery on my face because I would ended up with a cleft lip real bad had I not. So I know what it feels like personally to be mauled by a dog. That's something I won't ever happen again.
Speaking of dogs, this is actually one I saw the other day. I thought was pretty funny. This is near Seattle, Washington. Sheriff's deputy barks like police canine to trick teen suspects into surrendering. Says a Pierce County Sheriff's deputy used a unique way to get teens out of hiding after they allegedly stole a car by barking like a canine that was about to be released on the hidden suspects. Around 8:25 a.m. on August 18th, deputies were called to the cemetery for reports of stolen vehicle. Sergeant was able to get ahead of the car and deployed spike sticks to get vehicle to stop. Said driver of the stolen vehicle went over and all four tires were flattened. However, the teen suspects rounded a corner, ditched the car along someplace and ran off. So deputy found two teens in a ravine near a creek bed. In body cam footage released from Pierce County Sheriff's Department, the sergeant yells out to the teens, "Don't make us release our canine." The deputy then starts bellowing and barking like a police canine. He did not have an actual canine with him at the time. Two of the teens came out from hiding and were arrested without incident immediately thereafter.
That's fucking hilarious. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, that's what it is, and they're afraid to get dog bit. They're like, "Don't bite us, man."
Right? It'd have been funny if when they came out, one of the cops came out from kind of behind them, barking at them.
Yeah.
So they'd shit themselves. Oh, shit. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I would have been the one doing that, though, for sure. Like, if the kids come out, hands up. I know my partners have them guns on them, and I'll come up behind them and act like a dog just to scare the shit out of them even more.
I remember years ago when Live PD still existed. This is obviously pre-2020 when they canceled that series. And I forget what county it was that they were in during that show. It was like 2018, 2019, something like that. And they had found some dude who was hiding amongst a bunch of stuff, whatever the case be. And they're like, "We're trying to get him to come out here, but we don't have a dog to go in there and get him," or whatever the case be. And I was making jokes that, like, yes, one of these cops should just start barking like a fucking dog and be like, "We're going to release the hounds on your ass." They ended up not doing it. They eventually caught him. But, yeah, it's just funny to see a couple years later the cop.
I know Live PD did a lot of stuff in California, and I think they did it also in around Mesa, Arizona and stuff. Because I know Mesa, Arizona, dude, is one of the crookest fucking areas for law enforcement in the country. They are horrible there.
They've actually done away with a lot of those ones now that they became that OP Live thing. and now they're doing other departments and stuff. They've gone back to some part of California called Fullerington.
Yes, that's a crooked area too.
Shittiest. Yeah, it just seems like a fucking, like probably one of the shittiest ones I've seen from those people was, it was like two dudes like walking, like one dude was walking along the street, and another guy was like biking towards him or whatever. And the cops were like, "Oh, we saw you guys hand something off to each other." And apparently, like, they wanted to hand it off like some meth or crack or something to the other guys, what it was that they eventually found on them. And it's like, who gives a shit, dude? Like, it's an open air drug market in this fucking your entire state anyway, so what the hell?
Yeah, I know, right? They're fucking trying to legalize major crime at this point, dude.
Yeah.
In California, do they not charge? I mean, they don't charge anyone for under $1,000.
Yeah, it's $950 or more for misdemeanor. And then I know that recently they did that other one. It was Senate Bill 553 or whatever, where you can basically get charged $18,000 as a store owner if you beat the fuck out of somebody, and that was over the Sikhs beating the shit out of that one criminal.
They're legalizing crime there. It's becoming
legalizing the purge is what it is. Eventually.
That's what I was about to say. They are legalizing the purge, and I would not doubt it if they didn't put forth legislation soon to where it is purge lingo basically.
And that's one thing that does kind of scare me in the long run, like because we're obviously heading towards this crazy shift in our country right now. And it's one of these factors of a potential post-Second American Civil War, Revolution, whatever to call it then, of what comes next or what comes after kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And who's to say there's not going to be a group that comes out of nowhere and is like, we're the new founding fathers of America. Now on March 18th of whatever the fuck year is going to be the first annual purge kind of thing or something. Or what the hell date it was there.
I'm to the point, man. I'm like, bring the shit on. Let's get this shit cracking. Crack-a-lacking.
Although I've always wondered with that whole series of films and TV shows and stuff is what all classified as class 4 and lower weaponry. Because you never saw tanks and shit like that out there. And I don't believe you've ever seen anybody use grenades during any of those movies or anything like that, but it's like, is it just guns and stuff? Like, I'm confused.
Well, yeah, they say, if I remember correctly, that there are certain things that aren't allowed, such as grenades, rocket launchers, and obviously tanks. Anything that's
that would be like big explosion kind of shit or whatever.
Exactly. I think anything greater than like machine guns is a no-no.
Which is kind of bullshit, honestly, because it's like, if you're going to tell people like, oh, you can legally go out and murder somebody for 12 hours, like, shouldn't they be able to have every ability to do so then?
Yeah. I mean, grenades, I could see more than anything because they're small. They're easily transported. Yeah. You know, even like rocket launchers, tanks, you know, people aren't going to be able to get a hold of tanks. I'm sorry. But during something like that where anything's legal, so that means therefore it's legal to purchase these things and sell them. You would think a lot of criminals would have shit like that because they could do even more mass casualty if they're purging. Yeah. I don't know. But in that scenario, you know, Liberty Safe will want to keep you safe. You know, you could buy vault doors for your front door, and you know, Liberty Safe has your back.
Yeah. I do want to run back to the Kroger thing for a minute there because I was going back to Twitter there for a sec.
There you go.
You know, you got that guy that's like, hey, you know, not gonna put up with this bullshit. And then you got these fucking retards right here. Don't care what she stole. Dylan Roof killed 9 black people, and the cops took him to Burger King. Which has been a misnomer for fucking ever, by the way. What they did was, they're like, hey, man, we're not going to violate your fucking civil rights and get a bunch of fucking charges dismissed from your dumb ass. We know we have to feed you here. We're going to feed you something. And it happened to be that Burger King was like one of the first fucking places that was close enough to the damn sheriff station is what it was there.
Yeah, no, I remember. They love to fucking misconstrue everything to fit their fucking narrative.
And that's what it is. And they that's the thing I hate about the left so much is what it is, because they will purposefully leave out hundreds of details from things just to fit their bullshit box is what it is. Just to fit their little soundbite science is what it is there.
Yep, just like Kyle Rittenhouse crossed the
crossed
the
state
border
lines with an illegal firearm.
And he went there and killed 3 black people. I mean, there's still people to this day that think he killed 3 black people.
Yeah. When he only actually killed 2 dudes in self-defense and blew a third guy's fucking bicep off.
And all were white.
Exactly. And one was a pedophile and one was a wife beater / domestic abuser. And the third guy was a criminal that got his bicep blown off.
Yeah. At least you could say Rosenbaum died as he lived, chasing
kids, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, chasing minors. Which is fucked. Like, it's funny to laugh about, obviously, because he's dead now. But like,
he's a piece
reality,
of shit.
it's fucked up because
that
dude should have never, ever seen the light of day again for what he did, because he legitimately raped 5 young boys between the ages of 9 and 11 years old.
Mm-hmm. I just love the fact
at the end of a friggin'. Honestly, he should have been at the damn electric chair at some point.
Oh hell yeah! No, it's people like him that are pedophiles. Like I said on Match Chat the other day, they need to have their dick and balls nailed to the floor of a fucking barn and given a rusty knife and say, "Cut it off or burn," and then just block the door. So
I will agree with that one to an extent for dudes, but there's a lot of female predators these days too that you cannot do stuff like that with.
Nail their titties to the floor.
Yeah, I guess maybe.
I don't fucking know.
No,
but the point is, you don't let them out.
Certain things, yeah. Like
you don't let them out.
Horrendous shit to them as an offense.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be that. It just, I mean, they should fucking die
some
screaming.
Bullshit or something, or some kind of other.
But like, I do
dealer's
love
choice kind of thing or something like that, or it's just like spin the wheel. Whatever comes up, that's how you die.
Mm-hmm. I do love the fact how Rosenbaum got a bullet to the dome.
I was gonna say, did he though, or was that a graze fracture? Because I always
no, he got a bullet to the head. I don't know if it was like it wasn't point on or anything.
No,
but
it was. I feel like there was like a graze there, because I was thinking because in the medical examination they were saying specifically him getting shot like in the dick / pelvis areas would actually killed him. Like it was that, and it was like one of the it was like the femoral artery area of one of his legs.
Yeah, but he did get shot in the head. Whether it was a graze or an actual hole, he just got shot in the head.
Well, that's why.
I think it might have been one of those ones where he got shot in the head, but instead of penetrating the skull, as I've seen this and heard of it happen before, the bullet stays under the skin and skirts underneath it and stays in between the skull and the skin.
Yeah, because I know when that whole thing happened and they were showing the footage of it, and you had McGinnis over there being like ripping his shirt off and being like, people were all like, "Oh, where's he shot?" And McGinnis was like, "I don't know, but like here's my shirt to use as like a tourniquet," basically what it was.
Yep, maps will go on the wall.
Yeah. And then you had like 10 people that were like carrying that dumbass to like the local medical center or whatever the hell it was, to like some vehicle.
Yeah. I do believe that certain acts against humanity should be an automatic death sentence. Raping and killing children, definitely one of them.
Yep.
Murder is another one, obviously. But, I mean, there's just different crimes like that should carry an automatic death sentence. Because those kind of people will never learn and never change. They need to be removed from the society.
General population, yeah.
Exactly. And pedophiles should be high on the list.
Yep. I'm still carrying my old Taurus because I can't afford anything else yet.
Hey, at least you got something to carry. Doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if someone's carrying a high point. If you got something to carry, more power.
Actually, I wish I had the money right now, because my local, up till I think it's sometime next week or something, has a deal going on right now where you can get them for $100 a pop. So, and usually they're like $160, $170 at that place.
Did you actually just show it? I couldn't see because I was outside in the sunshine.
What?
Did you show it?
No, I don't. I'm not showing guns on live streams.
I've
heard other things about getting fucked over like that. I'm not about to do that shit here.
I don't blame you. I carry a G21. It's nothing fancy, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, no. I mean, I have other things around me right now that aren't technically firearms, but they're like replica stuff because they're all BB guns and shit. But like, I'm not gonna show you that stuff either. So.
Yeah. How's your Kimber working out, Magnum, Brandon? Because all I ever hear is horrible things about Kimber.
I've heard a lot of talk that it's their magazines that they come with to have feeding issues, but if you put any other 1911 mag in them, it'll work fine. So, which is weird, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, what the hell magazines are Kimber using? Is it actual like branded mags, or is it like some weird like company that doesn't know how to make a fucking magazine properly, or what?
I don't know.
So.
Yeah, Brandon said he carried a 605 through 57 Magnum yesterday. That's awesome. Grabby carries a G43. That's awesome. I carry two Glocks. I carry my Glock 21 and my Glock 19. And I love my G21. It fits perfectly in my big ass meat hooks. So.
Yeah, I still need to get some steel wool too, because that.
Because there's actually a couple Kimber 1911s that I'd actually like to have, but it just I get scared off because I hear so many bad things.
Rust on the Mora that Krabby got me, so need to get that shit off there one of these days soon.
Heck yeah. Shit, maybe I need to pick me up a more nice. It seems like everyone's got.
These are not that expensive. I think this was like $15 or $20 on Amazon.
Yeah, I'll have to get one because I've heard they're
the thing is though, you need to sharpen the fuck out of it because it's very dull when it first comes out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I sat there with one of these little like $5 Walmart sharpeners like that big or whatever, and just several hundred fucking goes through that, and it's cut my finger a few times now. So
yeah, I got one of those tumbler knife sharpeners. I actually like it. It works really well.
Actually, what is this?
I don't know if you. I think I showed it on Mad's chat, but I don't know if you were there or not.
Oh, shit! I just cut myself by accident.
Well, it's not truly your knife unless you cut you.
Because I was gonna say, not bad. It's still pretty sharp there. Hope I didn't just slice myself again. And I'm gonna nick myself just a teeny little bit right there. That's not good. That's what I get for holding the fucking sheath wrong.
You all right, dude?
No, I'm checking just to make 100% sure that there's not a cut in my finger right now. No, I think it was just. I think I just grazed. The sheath is what it was, and thought it got cut. Yeah, I'm all good then.
That's like.
I mean, I almost sliced right through this finger before and didn't even realize it was that knife because it went like so deep is what it was, and I didn't pay attention to it until like days later when it started hurting like a bitch.
This is my knife sharpener, and I love it. It's made by Tumbler. This box is hard to open. And what comes in it is this. This right here on the right side is a magnetic block that has a 20-degree angle on one side and a 15 on the other, and you hold your blade on it. And then you got this tumbler here. That one side is your sharpener, and the other side is your honer, how you polish it and get the burrs and stuff off. And it literally just rolls. That's how you do it.
Huh. Interesting.
And I love it. It works pretty good. I'm good.
All right. Well, on that note of me almost cutting myself, I think we're going to call it a day because I'm pretty much out of stories today. So And yeah, it looks like just a bunch of dumbasses that don't know what the fuck they're talking about here to different stuff, and stupid people wanting to be stupid is what it is here.
Yeah.
Actually, there is this one that people are saying you have no right to demand cop be arrested. Tell your people to quit breaking the laws and running from police. Police release Kroger surveillance footage of Takia Young fatal shooting. Yeah, and that's what it is. We've incentivized an entire group of people in this country to do whatever the fuck they want without any kind of consequences for their actions, and then people wonder why they get fatally shot in various encounters.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, it just...
And then they want to cry wolf and act like, my babies were so sweet and innocent. They didn't do nothing wrong. They were on their way to doctor school.
Yeah, in reality,
or on their way to the library.
Robbing a place.
Yeah.
That idiot Michael, or yeah, not Michael Young, Michael
Brown.
Yeah, that's who it is.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, he was going to be this high school student that became a college student, and he was such a good guy and everything else like that. And then there's like literally video of him strong arm robbing the Indian store owner there.
Yeah,
and it turned out there was other video that came out after his death where he was literally like jacking some homeless guy's fucking bag and shit. It's like, yeah, that guy was just a piece of shit in general, dude.
But they shot him with his hands up in the air. No, his hands weren't in the air.
Yeah.
Yet, he was actually trying to take a gun from a cop.
Footage where you have fucking burn marks on his hand where he was grabbing at the slide of the gun to stop him being able to function.
Yep. They, like I said, they'll lie, cheat, and steal to fit their fucking narrative. Doesn't matter who it is. Anyone on
Actually,
the
interestingly, I was watching, I think it was AK Nation News the other day, and it was one of the guys on his panel was talking about that, and they were talking after the Michael Brown shooting about how there were some dudes that were telling some cops or whatever someplace, like, like, real talk, bro, like, you guys need to do more of that shit, basically. To, like, deal with these motherfuckers, like, permanently or whatever. And then there was other people that were like, oh, our hands are up, don't kill us. So, yeah, it's convenient, too, that it always happens right around the time of an election cycle, which, given the fact that we're coming up on an election cycle in about a year or so now,
yeah,
it really makes me wonder how they're going to gear up 2024 right now.
Oh, 100%.
It's going to be a giant shit show.
Yep. Because now is the time where they're, getting out all their lies and they're trying to, buy their votes or fortify anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, all the fuckery is beginning now before the real fuckery starts next year.
Yep. But anyway, I will be back on. When will I be back on this channel now?
What is your What's your actual opinion on the chances Vivek, dumb fucking name idiot, has at becoming president?
I would say not high. There's more and more stuff coming out about that dude being a sack of shit Manchurian candidate every single day now.
Oh, I agree. I just
wondering. I think it's a lot more likely people are starting to wake up to his bullshit. Is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, had he been, it's the thing, right? Like, this is my biggest issue with that guy in general. Had he truly been on the fucking level, he would have been in the Ohio governor's race a year ago, and he would have taken that shit down and become a new governor here.
Right.
Because he could have easily, like, that's the thing. There were so many people that didn't really stand chances in those primaries. He could have easily been the guy that just comes in and is like, nah, I'm going to run this. I'm going to run this old-ass man out of here that's been in power for 40-something years now and make Ohio a better state right now. And you would have had the entire party back his ass at that point. Well, maybe not the entire party, but, like, anybody that really matters of, like, the voter base, basically, is what it would have been. But no, he didn't do any of that. Didn't even hear about this guy until legitimately 4 or 5 months ago when he announced, like, I'm running for president now.
Yeah.
So, and now since then, you've had all the shit come out in 2004, and him and Pete Buttigieg both at Sharpton's whole thing asking him questions about the presidency back then and his presidential run back then, and just all kinds of weird fucking shady shit now. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would love to believe that the guy's on the level, but he's not, I don't think.
He's not at all. I mean, he's basically plagiarized Obama several times.
And it's just creepy, man. Like,
and
not only that, but he's also disqualified himself from the running several hundred times at this point, honestly, by saying, as president, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, which is not ODQ, or those don't know about that. It was something our founders actually wrote into the Constitution itself and the founding documents of this country besides that, to where if you say you're going to do something as a sitting politician or whatever, you don't hold that job, you can't actually run for that office, and you're disqualifying yourself for another thing. That's why whenever I talk about possibly running for governorship, I never actually say, as governor, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, because then I would disqualify myself, and I would look like a hypocrite piece of shit after that if I actually run then. That's why it's something like, if I get in the governor's office, I'm going to, attempt to do this kind of thing or something like that.
I just think also that when he smiles, he just fucking looks like pure evil.
Yeah, he definitely is not a good person. I do think it's funny that Eminem's suing his ass, though, for defamation and shit like that, to stop using his music. So, but, yeah. On that note, though, I will be back either tomorrow or Wednesday. I'm not sure when, and then we'll do Buckshot Thursday for the first time in weeks, because I haven't done any of those for 3-4 weeks now at least. And then obviously we'll do Freedom Friday again, actually on Friday this time, about whatever the hell it's going to be, I don't know. Most likely Buckshot Thursday this week will be an update to what's going on in New Mexico with Grisham's ass, and if she actually gets impeached over this whole thing or not, because as they said, they're going to bring impeachment articles against her at some point this week is what it is. So we'll
Good.
see.
I hope that bitch gets out.
And yeah, from there, that's what we'll be at, though. But anyway, that's pretty much it for the day. Any closing statements, Corey?
Yeah, fuck that bullshit. That bitch needs to be gone quick, fast, in a hurry. As well as all her cronies fucking colleagues.
Yep. And as I like to leave these off now, hug your wife, hug your kids, call your mom and dad, tell them you love them, because you never know if today is going to be your last day with them, because you never know if some scumbag-ass tyrant is going to kill us all at some point. So,
and if you ain't
today like it's your last.
Exactly. If you ain't prepping now, where the fuck have you been? If you are prepping, prep more, because shit's fixing to get wild.
Oh, also, I heard some stuff recently that there's not going to be any ammo being made next year. So if you are light on ammo, go buy fucking ammo right now while you still can.
Why are they not making ammo?
I have no idea. I've heard differing things, that apparently there's going to be some crazy shit that's going to happen, and pretty much come the first of the year, there's going to be a bunch of ammo companies not able to produce ammo anymore. So,
yay!
Yeah, if you don't have ammo, get ammo. If you need more ammo, buy some more ammo. Don't do a run on ammo and be an asshole that buys up everything, though, please, because we don't need our prices to be spiking and skyrocketing again.
Or we don't need to actually create an ammo shortage.
Exactly. And that might be what they're trying to do. Who knows? But yeah, I've heard it from a couple different places, other YouTube channels and stuff like that. They've said some stuff about how there's not going to be ammo produced for in the next 6 months or something for some reason or another. They didn't really go into specific details about it, but I thought it was worth mentioning. So, if you need some, stock up on some. I plan on doing so very soon, is what it is. And hopefully, things are not going to be super bad, and we'll actually be able to just get through all this and not have another fucking lockdown coming in the next month or so. Because God forbid, I will not comply, and I don't think other people will either, for that matter.
Nope, I will not comply.
So, on that note, I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one, y'all. Later.
Later, guys. Take it easy.